For the next big Polygon project, can you guys lobby Bangladesh? Because right now crypto is illegal there. You think they're just going to naturally open up?
When I think of like the mission we have at Polygon, it is like to move all money on chain. I should be able to just open an app, send money, and the person in Bangladesh gets it. 4 hours a night for 2 weeks, that's crazy, and it destroys you. So Polygon has two businesses, AML laws, sanctions laws. They might want us to help them with something that's like illegal, and we're not going to do that either. I would work from like 10 p.m. to 5 a.m.
You're waking up at 10 p.m. The hardest criticism you got personally as someone that was managing a company that had $2.5 trillion moved.
Like if I could take 2 years of torture for 35 years of happiness, how easy of a decision is that?
Don't you want to be writing the book?
Why do I care? Am I happy?
Marc, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Likewise, happy to have you here. You are the CEO of Polygon. How do you end up the CEO of Polygon? Like, how do you go from, you're born, you go to, middle school, high school, college, and you end up somehow the CEO of Polygon? What's the process there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I often wonder like how it is that, you end up going from, a kid who did no homework, spent no time doing anything in school, or interested in school at all, to, doing okay in life. I think to me, like the core theme, I'm like a very, very big believer in like, frankly, having confidence in yourself and working your butt off. It's kind of like very, very straightforward. For me, I think like, probably like the most useful thing is that, it's really important to like take bets on things in life. So for me, it was, in 2016, I was a lawyer working with like early stage companies, and I was looking at it and I'm like, there's a million other lawyers who are helping early stage companies, and I have no differentiating factor at all. And all I could think was, how do I differentiate myself? And one of the easiest ways to do that is like niche down into something. And so started looking around, and, I've been reading about Ethereum for the last year or so at that time, super interested. And I'm like, okay, well, there's this crypto thing. I was like, I'm very confident there's basically no lawyers doing this crypto thing. I love it. I think it's super interesting. It's just starting to get some like buzz. Like this could be a pretty good thing to bet on. And, my view was like, there is no world in which like blockchains are not successful technologies. And the question was just, what does it look like? And so I basically said, look, go jump into this and take a bet on it. And so I did. And, by late 2017, I was a fourth year lawyer at the firm. I think I had a bigger book of business than every partner at the law firm that I was at. And then I can think of, what, most people did was late 2018, early 2019 came in, and those people were into crypto, and the market just dumped, and everybody said, okay, crypto's dead. And to me, that was the moment where you gotta take a bet. And so I doubled down and I said, I'll just keep working on this crypto thing. And, in that scenario, what ends up happening is you go to Consensus in April 2019, and there's like 200 people there. And like most people think crypto's completely dead. But what happens at that time is you meet everybody who is still in the industry. And that sets you up like really, really well. So I started doing like all the legal work at that time for Compound, which was probably like one of the bigger protocols at the time, which led to me doing all the legal work for Uniswap, which led to me doing all the legal work for like, it was truly like 70-80% of all of DeFi for several years. And the reality though is like, I've always been a business guy. And so I figured, it was just a matter of time until I took, the deep like product and like protocol understanding that I had and turn it into, okay, let's move away from being a lawyer to being a business guy. And, I went to UIDX as their chief legal officer, then came over to Polygon over there. And, I still remember the first time I interviewed with Sandeep, I told him like, just letting you know, I'm like an accidental lawyer. I'm like way more of a business guy than a lawyer. I guess that stuck with Cindy. And when he was looking for somebody to run things, he, said, look, everyone's been impressed with the work you've been doing. You clearly get it. Why don't you take the CEO role? And there you have it, 3.5 years ago. And I guess I'm still CEO. So fun ride.
So being able to take risks, that's kind of the thing that set you apart from everybody else that was a lawyer and everybody else that was working in your industry. You took a risk on crypto. You said, you know what? I'm still going to do it. And you were really good at what you did, which is why people kept wanting to work with you.
I think that's a fair assumption. I think like the, one thing that I think is important in anything is like become really like an expert in that thing. I think that it's funny actually at this time talking about that because with AI, there's like this debate on like everyone should be generalists versus like specialists. And I'm like a very big believer that like you differentiate yourself by being a specialist. Like you know things in depth that others don't know. And people want to work with you. And ultimately, like the world's about people. I guess one day agents will be choosing whether they work with you. But the reality is, you know, when agents are choosing whether they work with you, they're going to choose to work with the one that they believe understands things more deeply and can add more value. And when I would hop on a call with like a new DeFi protocol, what they'd know within 10 minutes was, oh, this guy actually gets what I do in depth. I want to work with them. There's always like abundantly clear that like everyone else they were talking to was like, had no idea what they were talking about 10 minutes into the conversation. And so I think like becoming a domain expert will always be valuable.
What's the specialization there? Because you're managing everything. What's the specialization with you as a CEO? Because I understand the specialization with a lawyer, but aren't you doing a generalist thing now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a firm believer there's no like training to become a CEO, right? Like, this isn't like totally true. You know, if you go to like a major company and you rise up there over 20 years and you're some part of like a leadership program, they'll like, you know, move you over from like the sales org to the marketing org to like, you know, just all around till you get like this holistic understanding of the whole company. And like, yeah, over like 20, 30 years, you like slowly get what it takes to become the CEO of some like massive company. But, you know, in the tech world, you know, most of the time things move a lot faster. You think of like the average founder of a tech company, they are not ready to be CEOs. They have no idea, what they're doing. They happen to be a great engineer or a great salesperson, have an idea that they just go and take a bet on. So, yeah, like you definitely, are not a specialist anymore when you're a CEO. That's very true. I'd argue though that like nobody gets the kind of like deep understanding of what it takes. But like, I have like a very strong belief that like CEO is all about just people. It's really that simple. You have an organization that's made up of a whole lot of people and your job is to make those people work really, really well together, give them a reason to want to work there and enable them to be super successful. And if that's like the only thing that you're able to do as CEO is you take, you know, 50 people or 100 people or 1,000 people and you make sure that you've only brought in the best. You push them really hard, but you create a great environment for them as well. And you give them a strategy that's clear that they can go execute on. I mean, you're going to be 90% of the way there for, you know, a successfully executing company. And really it all comes down to like how you execute. So bring in amazing people, give them a clear strategy, let them execute. You're going to do pretty well. Interesting.
When you decided to work for Polygon of all other companies, I actually have a general question about Polygon because I think a lot of people know what Polygon is. I remember like a couple of years ago, I put money into Polygon and I literally didn't even know why. I just saw it as like an option under like my crypto wallet. It said Polygon. I'm like, oh, this seems cool. I'll put money into it. What makes Polygon like unique as a blockchain? Because there's so many out there, but for some reason, as of what Google tells me, $2.5 trillion were moved through Polygon. Why? Like, what makes it special?
Yeah, so it's actually an evolution. And look, every company needs to evolve their products over time. You know, I think the time when most people think of Polygon, when it was like first kind of built, they thought of it as just being this fast and cheap blockchain, right? And that was really valuable at the time, right? And, you know, 20 2021, you didn't have fast and cheap blockchains that like you could easily deploy applications on and use DeFi in and, you know, go make money on, frankly. And Polygon enabled you to do that. But when you think of how blockchains have evolved, you know, you now have dozens of fast and cheap blockchains. This is nothing new. There's two things that make Polygon stand out now, though. One is that history that is very valuable. And specifically what I mean is it's a history as a network. So when we think of like a creator getting paid out somewhere in the world, question is, you pay them out on a blockchain, can they do anything with that? And two unique things about Polygon. First is there's a lot you can do on the chain itself with that. You can go and buy an X subscription with that if you wanted to. You could do a lot of like random things that you want to do in your life. You can actually pay with stablecoins on Polygon. Now, the second option is you don't want to keep them on chain. You want to actually move that money off chain. Polygon's one of the rare blockchains. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. If you want to off ramp that money or on that, you're going to have an option. You're a creator in Turkey. Like you can just go to your local exchange in Turkey and they're going to support Polygon, right? And so that is two very unique attributes. Now, the third thing that I think ends up being really important is specialization. It's kind of a common theme. It's what I talked about, you know, what I did personally. But I think it's actually very true for most things. So, you know, most people don't realize it. Polygon is just a payments focused chain. We realize that like trying to do RWAs and gaming and payments and DeFi and, you know, 20 other areas that like you could possibly cover, is not actually valuable. Because you can't build the block space for something valuable. And so instead what we did is we said, okay, we got this huge network. What can we do that is incredibly valuable for people? And the answer is make it optimal for payments. And so that means making changes to the blockchain itself, but it also means building things around it. So one of the areas that we're really focused on is this idea of building the open money stack that allows you to move money seamlessly around the world at any point in time and move it to anyone. Now, this is like a B2B product. And as a B2B product, we are not actually directly offering that to consumers, but we make it so easy for a business to do it. And the example that I love to give is, you know, our chief product officer vibe coded a full remittance application on the Open Money Stack API in like 5 hours. And when you go into that thing, you can literally go and find a CVS or a Walmart. You can drop off cash. You can receive stablecoins in exchange for that cash. You can send that stablecoin off to somebody and they can receive it and choose what they do with it. Now, that is something, there's way more functionality in it, but like that is something that like we've always at Polygon cared about. It's like, how do we make something that is really easy for folks to use? And this actually is a differentiating factor. Being able to send that money in that way is something that, you know, you don't actually see on most blockchains.
When you're managing all these people and managing this company, what is like a CEO thing you picked up or a CEO lifestyle you picked up that made you get to a point where you can be the CEO? Because, you know, some days I want to wake up at noon, but obviously, you know, as a CEO, maybe it's not optimal. Is there like a specific routine and discipline and philosophy you have to follow that makes you stand out from the average person, that allows you to be a CEO?
Yeah, I mean, I think of it more importantly as not being a CEO, but being like a great CEO, I think is probably like the most important thing to me. Yeah, like I think, probably the most important thing to me is creating a culture that makes you want to work at Polygon. So we have a killer team that most of the industry knows is a total killer team. People try to poach people at Polygon all the time. They try to pay them way more. And ultimately people choose to stay. And the reason they choose to stay is because it's a challenging environment that is interesting for them, is a good place for them to work, and they want to stay. And so, you know, when I think of like my role as CEO, it's always like raising the bar for everybody, right? And so if I were to like just kind of sit around and say, hey, Polygon, we're doing like pretty well. Let's keep operating this way. And, we bring in, we do hiring, and, eventually what happens is people really want to hire somebody because they need somebody in the role, and suddenly you like lower your hiring standards. For probably the first 2 years as CEO, I interviewed every single person before they joined the company. Didn't matter who it was, and sometimes multiple interviews for a role. And the whole idea was, I need to make sure that the people we are bringing in are the type of people that we actually want. And to me, again, this goes back to like the core thing that you actually need to do really well is bring in the right people and set the right culture. There's tons of other things that you need to do, right? Like you need to be on top of like, strategically, like how things are changing and what changes you need to make. You need to be on top of like new trends. I mean, AI is like a great example of, one of the things that, I often say is like working at Polygon is, one of the best things you could do right now, for the simple reason that you can use AI to an unlimited amount. We have training sessions. We have built systems that enable people to use AI super effectively. You will get training at Polygon to be much better at like AI usage, in many different ways than what you would get elsewhere, which sets you up like really, really well. And ultimately to me, when somebody does leave Polygon, to me, and they go get a great role somewhere, I view this as like super positive, right? Because what that means is that I have somebody who was really good here, who I likely made even better. And now they can go and frankly have a better life, because they're going to have another great role somewhere else. And that's fantastic.
So you're not like upset, or you're not sad when one of your best employees or a good employee leaves and goes to a better company, or a company that offers more. Like, let's say you train someone up for years and they're like, hey, I want to work for this company because they just offered me a $100,000 cash bonus. You feel good about that?
I can't say I feel fully good, right? It's always disappointing losing somebody, but my view is I need to create an environment that makes people want to be here. So I do need to pay them enough. I need to give them challenging enough work. I need to give them enough opportunities to grow. The way that I look at hiring is like a lot of people, think about money as being the primary driver, and everyone cares about money. Like it's ridiculous to think that they don't get me wrong. But to me, like the thing that I care is hiring for somebody who is like intrinsically, internally motivated, right? So like I want somebody who, when I put a challenge in front of them, gets super excited about this and like wants to go and like win. And those type of people, they want to be around other people of that type, and they want to be challenged. And there's not that in many environments that like give them that opportunity. Now, if that type of person leaves and goes somewhere else, maybe they're getting paid a huge amount of money that we're not paying them. Now, there's two things about that. I am kind of happy that this person's going to go get paid a boatload of money. Like, good for them. B, likely a competitor is overpaying somebody. Not a bad thing, actually. C, if we've done a big job that I think that we do, this person is left loving Polygon, spreading good stuff about Polygon. And eventually, if the experience that they go to isn't good enough, is going to come back. And we actually have that a decent number of times. And so, yeah, it's always a bummer losing somebody good, but ultimately, like, it's our job here to like create a place where people want to be. And if they choose to not be here anymore, we didn't do a good enough job. We didn't pay them well enough. We didn't give them the type of work that they needed. And that's ultimately on us, is how I look at it.
Can you give me an archetype of what that best employee or worker is? What is the best personality type and like living condition that you'd want someone? Do you want them to already be wealthy and work out of passion? Does that matter? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I don't like care too much about like the state of where they're at right now. That changes all the time. One of the questions that I ask in every single interview that I do is what makes you want to be successful. And that, to me, there's two types of answers that you can give. One answer is some external factor that drives you to want to be successful. And there's another that is like an internal factor. So one of the common themes, if you were to ask people at Polygon, what makes you want to be successful, you'd hear like two things, sometimes three that are pretty common. One is, I just want to win. Two is, I love challenges. And three is, you got the, I want to win. You got the, I love challenges. And, the third one would, actually maybe those are like the two kind of like key ones. So I want to win and I love challenges.
Those are saying, I want money.
Yeah, sometimes somebody says, I want money. I view that as like an extrinsically motivated thing that like is not that, look at everyone wants money. So like, if the thing you're going to say is, I want money, then that's not a good thing. Like, being able to say, like, I really want to win. I'm super hungry. I'm that. I guess the third one would be, I'm curious. I want to learn. Curious people to me end up falling in the category of like people who end up working their ass off because they're super interested today. Now, the thing in all three of those categories, right, is what you're going to get from somebody who wants to win, who is curious, or who loves challenges, is you're going to get somebody who's going to grind, and they're going to be around others who want to grind and win. And this isn't, by the way, about like working harder, right? Everyone works hard at Polygon. There's not working hard. But it's about actually like the attitude that you bring to it, right? So somebody who wants to win, who's curious, who loves challenges, what they usually do is they take more ownership of things. They are way more ambitious in like what they try to do. They move way faster in what they try to do. And that ends up being the type of people who end up being like very, very successful in roles. Now, one thing we haven't talked about that is actually equally important for me is actually having like good people. And by good, I mean like nice
good people,
like nice people who treat each other well.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think a lot of people think that like, it's okay to just have like this like killer environment where like you've got super high performance and everyone treats each other like shit. Like I'm 100% okay, like letting go of somebody who treats other people like shit no matter how good they are. Just not interested in having that at all. Like I really believe, and I think we have it actually at Polygon, you can create an environment where like everyone is hungry and wants to win, but everyone still treats each other really, really well, helps each other out. Super collaborative. I mean, it's one of the things that's like, I think unique at Polygon is the amount of help you're going to get from others in the org, regardless of what you do, is like tremendous while everyone is still like grinding away. And I think that's like a pretty unique thing.
Would you say so let's say they treat people inside of the company well, but outside of the company, they're like something. Does that matter for you?
I mean, what people do in their personal lives is what they can do whatever they want in their personal lives, whether I agree with it or not. But we do have, so kind of what I'm touching on here without saying it specifically is we actually have like a set of values at Polygon that like define the culture. And, I touched on some of them, like the values end up being around like taking ownership, being ambitious, being fast. The ones that are relevant to what you said, kind of like the being good kind of people is like be respectful. It's express your opinions. And the last one that has to do with this is like serving others. And the general idea here by serving others is really like helping each other out. And this is not just like an internal to Polygon thing. It's actually intended, specifically talks about like internal and external. Like the general idea is like we want people who are going to like look at the community and see like where is it that I can like add value in the community. And by that I mean like the Polygon community. I am like not at all a CEO that is like Polygon is a family or Polygon cares what you do in your personal life. Like do what you want in your personal life. Like that is your personal life. Like it has nothing to do with Polygon. You can be whoever you want to be. What I care about is when you are working, when you are in like, in any way in like the Polygon orbit, and that could be internally or externally, then like those values are things that I expect you to like reflect.
That makes sense though. That makes sense. You want to make sure you're working with good people ethically and that, treat everybody at the company well. Otherwise, no one's going to want to work at Polygon in the first place, right?
Yeah, it's not very fun to work with people who treat people like shit. So, avoid that.
Is there something you think that, should this even be something that Polygon has to do? What people like spend their money on, how the blockchain is used?
So Polygon has two businesses right now. One is a regulated business, as we acquire CoinMe and we like move into money movement. And, that it requires us, frankly, to comply with, a bunch of laws, as we kind of complete that acquisition. AML laws, sanctions laws, things of that nature. And so, super important, frankly, for us to do that. It's just normal when it comes to regulated money movement. The other side of the business is just a technology provider, right? Like we build technology. And, in that you usually think of that as like an unregulated business. Now, there are laws that apply, though, no matter what. Things like sanctions laws, right? Like you cannot offer a service to somebody who is in a sanctioned country. So, if I've got somebody who is in, if you're in the US, in Cuba, for example, like you're not going to be able to like offer a service to them. And so we distinguish between like the centralized services that we offer and decentralized service. As a blockchain, like Polygon is decentralized. It can get used for a bunch of things that like we cannot control whether it gets used for those kind of things. And most of the time, frankly, we don't even know what they're going to be used for. So we can have a view on whether people should use them for that. But ultimately, it is a permissionless system that folks have access to. So we very much just distinguish it based off of, is it something we control? In which case we're going to abide by laws and we're going to prevent things. So if we are engaged in money transmission, which today we're not, but post our acquisition of CoinMe, we will be, then we'll comply with like all AML laws and, the Bank Secrecy Act and so on and so forth. Right now, we're not money transmitters, so we don't look to like, prevent money transmission. We might care, right? Like we might look at a service and somebody might approach us and want us to do something. And we'd be like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Or, they might want us to help them with something that's like illegal and we're not going to do that either. So ultimately just distinguishing between like a permissionless blockchain that anybody can do anything on that we can't stop versus anything that we're involved in which case we're going to comply with the law.
I like that answer. If you can put yourself in a position where, you don't really know what people are using the blockchain on, you're not really responsible for what happens on it, and you still give people like the privacy that they need. And then for, the actual money transmission, you have no choice but to comply with the law. Like there's no other way your company could run.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's the case. And also like, there's a lot of like, examples you can give from like just a traditional world, right? Like, somebody sends an email to somebody that says, go, murder this person. Like Google is not responsible because somebody sent that email using their Gmail accounts, right? Like this is like a pretty like obvious thing. And to me,
really ask that question to test how good your PR skills are, basically.
Yeah. I mean, PR skills are actually pretty simple. The answer is do the right thing and then answer the honest answer, and then you're always actually good. Overrated otherwise.
maybe for you, but a lot of people in this industry, it's a whole lot of hoops to jump through when explaining what you do.
Well, because they're not doing the right thing or they're not giving you an honest answer.
Yeah, exactly. What was the hardest criticism you got personally as someone that, is managing a company that had $2.5 trillion moved?
I mean, I think the hardest thing is this. Look, if there's so many ways to compare this, but probably the hardest thing is always like nobody understands from the outside what you are doing. So like it's, and you've got like thousands and tens of thousands of community members who all look at what you're doing and they have a perspective on it. And I think like lots of CEOs and other companies like ingest that and then try to like change what they're doing based off of that. I'm like a very big believer in like information. So like I want to hear every perspective that people have, because somebody's going to have a perspective that like I have not considered. And that is like very, very valuable for me. And you can give different weights to information that you receive, right? Like you can understand who you're getting it from and put more weight or less weight on it. So I think that when you get like community feedback, this is like super helpful. But I think the hardest thing is that a lot of it is actually based on complete misunderstandings of what you're doing. And there's two sides of that. One is, okay, well then, I look at that and I say, should I be doing a better job of letting the community know exactly what we're doing? And in some cases that is the case, right? And then I try to I get on this thing where I'll tweet something pretty consistently that tries to help people understand what we're doing. The other part of it is people who just want you to do something different strategically than what you were doing. And A, they don't have all the information. B, you might just disagree. And you're going to execute on your mission in the way that you think. But everyone thinks they know better. And that's probably the hardest thing is getting, tens of thousands of people on the same page as to what you are trying to do. You're never going to do it successfully, but it's really hard because some people care a lot and then they get really frustrated. Some people frankly just want to be jerks and then you just ignore them. But ultimately, I like when people feel like they've been heard, mostly because I do actually hear them. But then not actually executing on what they want. I always feel bad because I'm hey, they really believe in this thing. I wish I could give them this thing, but it's just not what we're doing. And so I'm not going to go do it. And to me, that's probably the hardest thing is this kind of direction that you get pulled in by others. And to me, the most important thing is just focus, execute, don't worry about the rest. And so I try to just kind of listen and let it go where I disagree and just keep executing.
How cutthroat is the crypto industry? I mean, you're the face of this huge company, this huge blockchain. What is it like in that regard?
Honestly, I don't think it's that different, from lots of industries. It all comes down to when people have money on something, they act differently, right? And in crypto, lots of people have money involved. And so, but it's no different than people who buy stocks and then, they see the company perform horribly and then they feel emotional about it. And then they, write messages that are stupid and do stupid things, right? To me, it's no different. When I think of the core kind of core crypto industry, frankly, you've got a bunch of tech nerds who are super awesome to hang out with that are really thoughtful, good people. To me, at the core, actually, that's what the crypto industry is. Now, the crypto industry has obviously become huge. And now you've got a bunch of people who just hold a bunch of tokens, most of which haven't done great. And they're super pissed and they do dumb things because they're emotional. But that's anything that involves money where, people lose money. They're not happy. So to me, no different. When I think of the core, companies working, you got good people running most of those companies with legitimate employees in them. You've got, some bad actors because you do everywhere. You see somebody insider trading at some, crypto app, go look at how many insider trading cases there are outside of crypto, so many of them. So to me, it's just humans are involved and a bunch of humans do stupid things sometimes. And you see it in crypto and you see it outside of crypto. None of that is surprising.
How did you get a deal with Meta? That's insane. Meta is paying people out using your software, using your company. How do you get a deal like that?
Yeah. So look, I think there's a couple of things. First is you go back in history and this is not something new for Polygon, right? When you go to 23, early 24, you saw Starbucks, Disney, Nike, Instagram, a significant portion of the Fortune 50 have used Polygon for things that they've done on chain. So for us, that's not new. Now, the thing that's really unique about what Meta is doing is that it is really core to what we are focused on in the payment space, where, they've basically said, hey, we'll let creators get paid out in stablecoins. Now, the thing this does, right, is it's significantly more efficient for creators. It lowers costs for everybody and it's much faster, right? And so, to me, this is just a big win in terms of the adoption of stablecoins, which is core to what we're trying to drive. In terms of like the relationship meta, like I think it's twofold. Like one is again, having a blockchain that is fast, cheap, and people trust, I think is one thing that's important. And then the second thing that, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing the team at Meta would say that our team is, very knowledgeable when it comes to these things and very helpful to them. And that's something that everyone values whenever we talk to enterprises. We take a very consultative approach and add value to them, help them see what the best way is to use a blockchain to move money. And they end up valuing that. And so I think when you combine those two things together, it's probably what drove Meta to choose Polygon. We're going to see a lot more of that in general, which is really good. I think it's
what was the first Fortune 500 company that you did that partnership with? I mean, let's say there's an entrepreneur at home and they want to somehow intertwine their company with a huge billion-dollar company, and they know their product is good, but they just don't have access to them. How did you get access? Did they reach out to you? Did you have one of your people reach out to them? Like, what's exactly the process to initiate that?
I mean, it's two different things, right? Like there's two different approaches to it. One is if you're fortunate enough to be able to hire people that have the contacts, then you hire people that have contacts, right? Like when we think of payments in general, it's like very rare that like somebody on our team does not know somebody at an existing payments company. And so you hire people that have those contacts. That's what kind of salespeople are for. Or second, you use more creative tactics, and those tactics can be a lot of things, right? Like account-based marketing is a good way to like get people at a company to actually get to know your company. They see the name, they build over time a belief that they can believe in it. You do some brand work, but ultimately, if you're really early, it's just grinding. Right? Like, one of our salespeople, shared a story with me, of, trying to meet, the owner of a basketball team. And this owner of this basketball team literally had ignored dozens of emails. So he ended up like buying a ticket to a game and literally went and found that person at the game and said, "Hey, I want to talk." They ended up talking and ended up doing a deal together. There's a lot of work that you can put in to like find people, get in front of them and talk to them. And most of the time you're going to get ignored. You walk up to somebody like that at a conference, you tell them your pitch, and they're going to be like, "Okay, cool. Like this is the 900th person that's walked up to me and given me a pitch at a conference." So you probably need to be more creative than that, but you do need to kind of grind away, find creative solutions when you're early on to get into enterprises. But ultimately there's always, especially in crypto, there's always like, and actually in most industries, there's an AI person at some enterprise. There's a Web3 person at some enterprise. There's always that person. And if you can like build a friendship with that person, get to know them, that's your in. You're still going to have a huge uphill battle, by the way, if you don't have like a good reputation and don't have a differentiated product. But if you have a good differentiated product and you can get in with that person, then you have a real shot at actually kind of getting a sale there.
So like, what cave do people have to find you in to like, there's a basketball game for some people. You would prefer to like be in a cave than play basketball. Like, where do people find you? What's the tech bro? What's the fintech version of a basketball game? Is it a consensus? Is it like those kinds of events?
Yeah, I ended up going to a decent number of events, and so yeah, easiest to find me there. That's really it. I mean, people message me on X, and if it's interesting, I'll message back, and I'll be interested in learning more. Sometimes people message me on LinkedIn. Yeah, ultimately to me, it's like, how do you add value to somebody? That's like the key thing, right? And so, when I think about it, I don't care for value to me personally. I care for like, what's the value add to Polygon? And is there something that we need? A lot of it is timing, right? Like you could reach out to me with some solutions right now, and I would actually respond based on our need. And if you reached out to me in a month, I would probably respond with something different. I'd be like, hey, not interested. Thanks. But the difference is we needed the solution a month before and a month later we don't. That happens, all the time. And so part of it is timing. And that's where I think being, aggressive, resilient is important. Like follow up, because, I can't give a specific example, but I definitely know of times where somebody has messaged multiple times and I've been like, hey, I'm not interested. And I usually try to be nice to folks and I'm like, hey, feel free to message me again in the future if you want. And some folks will continue and I don't know, the fifth time I'll be like, actually, I'm interested in talking about that because just happens that at that time we actually do need that thing. And, I'm like, you know what? This actually seems like, somebody I want to work with. They seem to have an interesting product, whatever it might end up being. So I don't know. To me, it's just keep going. Don't stop.
So you're encouraging people to go message people 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times in a row. Obviously not in the same day, but you text them January, not interested. You text them again in February, talk to me later. You encourage people to continuously talk to the same person unless they block you or tell you, hey, never speak to me again.
Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't give up on it. So
go
100%.
Don't do that to me. Do that to Marc. Do not do that to me.
I mean, look, ultimately, if you don't think that they're going to add value to you, either you tell them, hey, I'd appreciate it if you don't message me again. I'm not interested in this at all. Or you block them.
Yeah, right? But you want to be polite. If someone, because I've had people pitch me all the time, and I don't want to say hey, your product sucks, I don't want to work with you. It's hey, I'm not interested, maybe later, right? I guess.
Yeah. I had somebody the other day who messaged me and they'd followed up for the fifth time. I'm a very big believer in treat people well, but also be direct, which is helpful to them. They don't need to waste their time. I mean, I do get, I miss quite a few DMs because I get too many of them. So it's okay.
So it's impressive that you have the time to go through your DMs because at some point you have a whole business to run, you can't be responding to every pitch that you personally get. People should go through the proper chain of command in the company, right? Rather than just try to reach out to you personally. Or how does it work when someone's pitching a $1 trillion company? Should they just go to the CEO? I mean, it sounds like it's kind of overkill. They should first start at, lower downs in the company and kind of, pitch the idea to them.
I mean, they're more likely to get a response from somebody else who's, either job is to respond to that or who's less busy. But if they are able to get the attention of the CEO, then that's actually not a bad thing, right? So it's, do I think it's the best tactic to try to sell to the CEO whose job is to keep out for the most strategic, important things, but not necessarily every little detail. And frankly, won't even necessarily know everything about what somebody's looking for. Often not. That wouldn't make sense. You're better off finding somebody else. That's why when I said hey, when we were talking about enterprise sales, I did not say go find the CEO, right? I said go find the person who is actually, focused on the area that you're talking about, because they're the ones whose job is to actually evaluate those things, and they're the ones who are going to spend the time on it. So I generally tend to think that is the better approach. I get probably the biggest thing that I get is security companies. Security companies pay me nonstop. I mean, we have an all-star security team. I have literally no reason to ever tell those people, frankly, anything other than I'm not interested in paying somebody on our security team. The reality is our security team has, several vendors that they work with consistently and aren't interested in working with other vendors. That being said, they should be very, consistent, because eventually what will happen is one of our vendors will hike prices or will do something that we don't like. And that person on my security team is going to be looking for somebody else. And if you are persistent, then you're going to happen to be in front of them at the right time. Now, by the way, to be abundantly clear, way better to build a personal connection with the person you're trying to sell to than just message them. Messaging them is when you cannot do that after multiple attempts, or simultaneously you're doing that. But you should be trying to build that personal relationship so that when they do want to call somebody, they usually do. Actually, one of the most valuable things that I got was, when I was a lawyer and I was choosing to get into crypto, I had a partner at a firm that I was at, a law firm. He's very, very successful in the automotive industry. Like in our area, literally almost every shop was his client in a multi-million-dollar book of business because of that. And, you know, I asked him, like, why are you so successful doing this? It's really simple. I love cars. And so I go and I hang out with car people, you know, all weekend long and at night. And the car people are all my friends. And when they need a lawyer, they call their friends. And it's really that simple. This is like sales, like 101, is you make friends with people. And when they want to use a service that you have, they're going to call you because they're friends with you. And that's just how sales work. So that's always a better route than like paying somebody randomly. But again, there's nothing wrong with some persistence.
Yeah, you have a way higher tolerance than I think a lot of people, because a lot of people, I mean, I'm sure you didn't enter the CEO role of being like on the same level as like an Instagram supermodel, like 100 DMs every day, right? You entered it to run a company and to be like a productive person. So for you to go out of your way to like respond to all these people, it's impressive.
I mean, I definitely don't respond to every single one. Don't get me wrong. Like there's no way that I can. But like, you know, I try like a decent amount. I also like, part of it's frankly, how much did the other person try? Like I get messages all the time that I ignore and I'm like, this person didn't even try. And if they don't even try, like I don't care to. There's a decent number of times where I see somebody and I'm like, okay, like this person's actually trying. Like I respond differently to those things. Like I probably many people don't. Like I personally do. But yeah, I definitely don't respond to everything. It'd be untrue if I said that I do.
And I don't want to encourage people to just text you, hi, hey.
I get a lot of those. It's super rare. I don't like why. Like I never get this thing where somebody just goes, hey. I mean, it's a 99% a scam, right? Like so, just I assume. So I never respond to those. But yeah.
You said that the Meta deal. When I mentioned the Meta deal, you were like, oh yeah, like we work with a lot of Fortune 500 companies. It's kind of expected at some point. Regarding your Cash App deal, you recently signed a new partnership with Deel, Deel, and something else with Cash App. Can you let me know more about that?
Yeah, so both those are a little bit different, right? So you know, Cash App specifically is they're a very Bitcoin focused company at Block, right? But one of the things they've noticed is that stablecoins are a great way to enable payments for people in general. And so, they decided to enable, you know, payments on chain, Polygon being one of those chains. And I think it goes back again to like how relationships, and where there are relationships where, you know, they trust that we can be a value add in what they do. And then the second one again is having a blockchain that, you know, like, again, Cash App is in the US. It's a US based company, right? So when you pay from, you know, some state out of the country, you want ideally that person who's sent that money to be able to like, the one who receives it to be able to do something with it. And Polygon is, again, a unique chain where you can send money to somebody in almost any country in the world and they can actually do something with it. And so that to me is I think a very valuable thing in the Cash App kind of deal. When I look at Deel itself, Deel is a payroll provider in EOR. And one of the things they enabled is for employees to be paid in stablecoins. You think of, you know, a company like Polygon, we've got employees in 30 different countries. And decent number of those employees would love to have US dollars would be one thing. Another decent amount of them would love to get paid much faster. And we would love to pay significantly less fees, as would Deel. And have more like consistency around those payments. So when you use stablecoins, the big part of the difference is that now you've got, you know, people who get paid and they can get paid literally immediately, receive those funds. Especially if they have something to do with them on chain, which is something we're very focused on ensuring, then they can not even move it off chain. If they do want to move it off chain, then they can go ahead and do it. So they can choose whether they keep these US dollars that they're receiving or their local currency. And so I think being able to give that option is really useful, especially again, when you think of it, like some companies are paying people in 50 countries or more. And just being able to shoot out a stablecoin transaction that, goes out to, whatever, 100, 200, 500,000 wallets simultaneously is, a very valuable thing for everybody, frankly, involved.
Yeah, it's so much more convenient to pay people in crypto, especially if they're with my company, like Quamap, we have editors that are like in Bangladesh or like in the Philippines or in South America, and having to pay them sometimes is the worst thing ever. And to just be able to send them an instant cryptocurrency transaction, it saves so much time. It's so convenient.
Yeah, I mean, we, when I think of like the mission we have at Polygon, it is like to move all money on chain. And the question is like, why? And it's the exact pain point that you just said. Like I describe all the time that, I should be able to sit across from somebody at dinner in New York and send them money. And when I do that, it takes me a few seconds. It takes no cognitive load whatsoever. It's super easy. I should be able to do that in the exact same way when I pay somebody in Bangladesh. I should be able to just open an app, send money, and the person in Bangladesh gets it. I shouldn't need to think, by the way, about like how I need to send it, how long it's going to take, like all of those details. It should just be like, hey, it shouldn't matter where you are. And with stablecoins, you can actually do that. It literally doesn't matter. You just, open up an app that supports it, send a stablecoin, they get it, done.
For the next big Polygon project, can you guys lobby Bangladesh? Because right now crypto is illegal there. So if you guys can, if you really believe in the mission, I need you to lobby their government and reverse that law.
Yeah. I actually think about this a lot, right? Because if you have a mission like moving all money on chain, like how do you actually achieve that when you've got a bunch of countries who do like ban, cryptocurrencies in one way or another? And, I think like doing policy work is one way to do that. Problem is like when you want to do it on the global scale, it's like near impossible because you need specialists in every single one of those countries. It's insanely expensive. And I think ultimately most countries, maybe not all, but most want to be competitive in a global environment. And they're going to realize that they can't be competitive in a global environment when, all the other countries are enabling stablecoins to flow seamlessly around the world and they're not. They're just like lowering the quality of living for those who live there, especially in a place where you're in a remittance heavy country. You've literally just like decreased the amount of money that people keep in their pocket, how often they're able to receive that money, so on and so forth. And so, ultimately think that in most countries, what's better for people end up being the things that win. In some countries, it's not the case, but in most it is.
Dude, with the competitiveness, it's so true. What are you familiar with Bhutan and its foreign policy?
Not in detail.
Well, basically, Bhutan used to have a tax where every day a foreigner would come, they would have to pay $250 as a tax. On top of that, they haven't recognized like half the countries in the world. They're very isolationist. They don't care about anything in the world. Then recently, their king approved a special administrative region that's mining Bitcoin, where they want all of these international entrepreneurs to come into Bhutan. And I recently spoke to like one of the people organizing that. And it's crazy because even these like super isolationist countries that frankly, historically just don't care about anything in the world other than, the happiness of their people. Even they're trying to get in on crypto. They're trying to get in on this competitiveness. So I guess what you're saying is that at some point, these countries are going to realize this. And then we're going to even have like North Korean Bitcoin wallets. Well, they actually already have them. But like for citizens of North Korea, Turkmenistan, all of that, you think they're just going to naturally open up to stay competitive?
Well, I think that's why I said most countries. right? Because like I don't think that's going to happen in North Korea anytime soon, and there's nobody in the world who's going to help that happen in North Korea, since it's a sanctioned country in pretty much every jurisdiction you can think of. So there's going to be a set that never open up, and not much you can do about that. But I think there'll be let's call it 99% of countries, 95 that will open up eventually.
Awesome. A couple more things I'm interested in before we wrap it up. When you're not physically managing this company, when you're not talking to all these people, what are you doing as a CEO? Like, are you playing Fortnite? Are you reading? Are you, I don't know, going on long walks on the beach? What does a CEO that manages Polygon do in their free time?
I mean, I pretty much work the whole time, but I do have 2 kids and I am married. And so, I just hang out with them. I'm a super boring person. I don't do anything on my own. Like I work and I hang out with my family. Like that's literally my entire life, which I love. So I'm happy with that. Like the work's fun. I have an awesome family. So hang out with them, do work when I need to do work. Can't ask for more than that.
Would you say, what was like the best thing that happened to you when you realized like, wait a second, I'm rich? Was it like being able to eat whatever you want? Was it traveling? Was it to have unlimited cookies? Like what is for you that the best thing that came out of, being successful originally?
Honestly, I don't even like to think about it that way. Like frankly, to me, it's, I'm a very big believer in the line of I'm just a person like everybody else, which I really believe. I don't know. It's kind of like irrelevant. Like I need to eat, I need to sleep, and I need to be happy, and like that's about it. And I don't really like think about too much else. I'm like I used to question like if I was just like slow or something, because I don't like think about like life in any deep way. Like lots of people have like very deep thoughts about life and like they change their lives a lot. I'm like very much like, if you are happy, just keep doing the same thing. And I just like am fortunate enough that like I'm like a happy person. I have like a great family. I like have fun with my work. Like just keep it simple. I don't do anything like very I'm happy. I don't need to do much more. Life is life.
It's interesting to see the philosophy. You're basically really busy all the time and you don't really have time to be depressed or like to really have to worry about anything because you're happy. Right?
You shouldn't think too hard about your life. Like don't think. Like the worst thing that you can do is like think and be like, oh, what can I do to be happier? Like seriously, like all you're going to think about is how unhappy you are. Like why? Like just do things that make you happy and don't hurt other people and you'll be fine.
But you're never simple. Like laying in bed thinking, what is this all for? Why am I here? All that stuff.
It's completely irrelevant. Who cares? Like honestly, like just imagine. I happen to be some random, like right now, you and I are actually a story in a book. Okay, who cares? Fine. Are you happy? Yes or no? like who cares?
Don't you want to, instead of being a story in a book, don't you want to be writing the book?
Why do I care? Am I happy? Like, am I happy with it? Like, why do I care? It's completely irrelevant to me whether I'm writing the book, whether I'm controlling something or not. If ultimately I can sit here.
I don't care if I'm happy. I want to win. I want to be the best. Happiness is irrelevant.
I argue that the reason that you want to win is because it brings happiness for you to win. I want to win. I want to win more than almost anybody else, but only because it makes me happy to win. I enjoy winning. If it didn't make me, if I hated winning, I would not want to win. It just happens that nobody hates to win. You do it because it makes you happy. Everything we do in life is because we think it's going to make us happy. It's just most focus on the wrong thing and trying to make themselves happy.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that's actually a really interesting way of seeing into the philosophy of, a CEO like yourself. If somebody if somebody were, a young man or woman or non-binary, whatever, somebody in the audience was interested in becoming the CEO of a huge crypto company or a Fortune 500 company, and they don't know where to start, they don't really have a specialty, can you tell me a piece of advice for them and how they can put themselves into a position where in 5 or 10 years, they're managing all these people, all these money, and in your case, you're happy?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's different. So to me, it's like a different route for everyone. It's hard to define it, but like, I'm like a very big believer in a lot of things that we've talked about, which is like find an area that you're interested in, that you want to get to know very, very deeply, become a real expert in it, then work your ass off like nobody else. And, I'm like a very big believer in like, do you know Prefontaine, the runner?
Personally, no.
Okay. He's runner that, Steve Prefontaine. He famously said something along the lines of, if I can turn this into a gut race, then I'm the only one who can win. Something along those lines. And I'm like a very big believer in this. Like, I will take more pain than anyone else. And I will ultimately win as a result of that. And if you're young and you want to be successful, you better be able to take pain. Sleep 3 hours a night, learn everything that you can learn. And
see, this is what I wanted to hear, not the do what makes you happy. Like, no, you should enjoy suffering. You need to eat glass.
Yeah, but you just said enjoy suffering. Like, if you're not that person who enjoys suffering, don't do it.
No one truly enjoys suffering, but you need to mentally convince yourself to enjoy it.
I like absolutely love it. And the simple reason is because it's a challenge. Like, I love to know how much pain I can take. Like, to me, it's like fun. It's a game. It's can I take more than other people? Can I do more than I did last time? Like, that to me, it's just a game. It's the game of life. And if you don't enjoy that, then don't try to be, successful CEO. Go do something that makes you happy. Like, let's put it this way. Like, if you are happy being a massage therapist, go live somewhere that allows you to have a life where you are a massage therapist and can live without concerns about whether you make more money or not. Not everyone needs to be like the CEO of something. You don't need to be. Like, go do the thing that makes you happy. But if you do want to be a CEO of a pretty big company, then like become very good at something, work your ass off and be willing to take more pain than others and take risks. And when you take risks, you don't guarantee yourself something. There's a whole other life that I could have had where like blockchains didn't become anything. And I was back to grinding away, having set my career back by 3 or 4 years, grinding away as a lawyer, and things look very different. You can't like guarantee yourself success. I have like all these quotes behind me on the wall. Right. And like,
I wish I could read them. They're all blurry.
The harder you work, the luckier you get. Right. And
that's so true.
This is it. All you can do is increase the odds of being successful. You cannot guarantee your success. And the question is, how do you increase those odds? And the answer is become really good at something, work your ass off, and take risks. If you do those 3 things, you'll increase your odds of being successful. Maybe you end up being successful, maybe you don't, because you can't actually control that outcome. And you need to be fine with that outcome not being controlled. Like, that's okay. Like, you'll still be fine, by the way. Like, if you don't end up reaching the ultimate goal that you wanted, you can still do pretty darn well. And you should be okay with that, because that's how you definitely, like, most people do it. That's fine. So I don't know. You just need to be content in life. Like, shit happens. Just live with it and be fine.
The underlining to all of that, which I think, you and I will say work hard, and the average person thinks they're working hard. Working hard, it doesn't look like, spend a couple hours a day on something. It means like being so overly consumed and obsessed that you're like neglecting other parts of your life just to finish what you're working on. Am I understanding that correctly in your case too?
Yeah, I agree. I generally agree with that. Like people talk about like, people give the analogy in different ways. They talk about like four burners or something like that. And like one is like personal, one is like health. The other one's like work. The other one's family and the other one's friends. And they're like, some people say like you can have like three of those four. I'm a very big believer that like, if you actually do it right, you can have two of those four. And yeah, like, am I going to die 10 years earlier than I should? Probably. But like, I don't know, like who enjoys their life when they're 90 anyways? Like I might as well die when I'm 80. Like that's fine. Like my kids.
I love that you said that. We're using that in the intro. That's such a good clip right there.
yeah. Like it's well, fine.
To be fair, you could still get those extra 10 years if you just cool it on the M&Ms. Like,
yeah, maybe. But I enjoy like this. Just comes back to like just be happy, right? Like I'm happy eating those M&Ms, and I'll die a little bit younger, and like it's fine. Like it doesn't matter. Like
true.
Why do you have to like live forever? Like super weird thought that like you have to live till like you're 80 or 90 or 100. Like live until like life isn't good anymore. Like that's it. So. Anyway, so do what makes you happy. That's the theme.
One last question. Would you rather sleep for 4 hours a day for 2 weeks or cut sugar completely for 2 weeks?
Okay. So I have a very different perspective on sleep now than I did before. From like, 2019 to 2021, I slept 3 to 4 hours a night, every single night, 7 days a week for that entire period. And
like, no. You had like once or twice a month where you slept properly, right?
Probably because I couldn't like help it. But like I would, I'd get up at, I'm like a very big like believer in like family and hanging out with my family no matter how hard I work. So I would get up, at somewhere around like, usually 10 p.m. to work. I would work from like 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. My kids would wake up at 5 a.m. I'd hang out with them till 7 a.m. I would then work.
Wait, you would wake up at 10 p.m.?
Yeah, because I had work to do. I would then...
What?
Yeah, it's very messed up.
10 a.m. Like we know what a.m. is and p.m. is, right? Like 10 p.m. When the sun sets, you wake up.
Yeah, I'd wake up mostly because at like 6 p.m., probably usually 7 p.m. until like 9 p.m. I'd hang out with my... Bro, you said you worked hard.
I didn't know you like did this kind of working hard. Okay, sorry. Continue, please.
Yeah. No, and so like 7 p.m. I'd like get my kids ready for sleep and get them to bed by like 8 or 9. I'd fall asleep with them. And sometimes it was a little bit earlier. Sometimes I'd wake up at like midnight instead. And I did that for a few years. And basically what ended up happening was, it was the only time in my life that I was not happy for about like a year and a half. I was just like not happy at all. My wife and I would like literally talk like 10 minutes a day for like that period of time. I have like an amazing wife. So it was very, very lucky. I spent the time with my kids, but never really spoke to my wife for almost like 2 years. And I would go to like the park on the weekends with my kids and I would like fall asleep on the bench and like I was just like always tired. I'd go to like the doctor and be like, I can't stay awake. And they're like, cause you're an idiot and you're not sleeping. And after like the first year of doing that, I was like, I didn't feel good, but I was okay. The second year of doing that, life was a struggle. And it was just like, I had 100 clients who were all waiting for stuff nonstop. If I would go to bed, all I could think was, holy shit, I'm not getting this thing done for a client. I'd be freaking out. And so I'd just like get up and like just grind. And, eventually I just got to a point where I was like, oh, I actually have a breaking point. And I was like, fuck it, I can't do this anymore. And I decided to like go in-house and I went to DYDX as chief legal officer. And like the first week at DYDX, I think I slept like 10 hours a night, like every night that week. And by the end of that week, I felt so much younger. I was happy again. And I was like, oh shit, I'm never doing that again. So, I I have no problem with some pain. I like maybe a month ago, we were working on something, about 2 months ago, we were working on something super intense. I had like 3 nights that I didn't sleep out of like in like a 2-week period. I was fine with that. Like that, definitely did not enjoy that, but like I was okay with that. Like I had to get stuff done. But my long story short, 4 hours a night for 2 weeks, that's easy. like I have no problem sleeping 4 hours a night for 2 weeks. I will never do that for an extended period of time again. It's fucking crazy and it destroys you. So yeah, get your sleep.
Dude, did you like learn about that sleeping method like out of some like Hindu ritual or something? Like, how do you decide one day I'm going to start waking up at 10 p.m.? Like, I haven't ever heard of anybody doing this.
It's you don't think it. You just sit there and you go, oh, I've got a client who's in Asia. I need to close this deal. So you get up at 10 p.m. to like get on that call, and then you are up and you're like, oh crap, look at these 10 emails that I haven't responded to. And you're like, shit, I really need to respond to them or I'm going to lose these clients. And so you start responding to them. And then you have clients that text message you and they're like freaking pissed at you because you haven't done something. You're like, gotta do it. And then you suddenly get to a point where like that just becomes like your life because it just doesn't stop. So that was it. I did not like, it was not an intentional thing. It was more like, man, if I want to win, if I like want to be the lawyer that everybody chooses, then I need to be working on as many big clients as possible. And that was it. And the problem with crypto at the time was that like nobody else knew it well enough. So you couldn't like train some lawyer because they like didn't understand crypto at all. They'd be like, you try to get them to learn something and they just wouldn't understand it. So you were in a spot where like you had to do the sales and you had to actually do the work. It was great.
You must have made like a lot of money that year. Jeez.
I mean, I did okay, but that's why I tell the young people all the time. Like there's some people who are like, yeah, take it easy when you're young. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like grind and do well and you'll make the rest of your life easier. You'll open up way more options for yourself in life. Like I'm a very big believer in like, you want to keep as many options open for yourself as possible. And the way you do that is do as well as you can, as young as you can. And suddenly you open up as many options as you can for yourself.
And would you recommend young people, maybe not as extreme as you, but to an extent, have a similar lifestyle when they're starting out?
I think if you're in your 20s and you're sleeping more than 6 hours a night, you're crazy. Not weekends, by the way. Like weekends, sleep your 10 hours that you want. During the weekdays, if you're supposed to sleeping more than 6 hours, I think that's nuts. Like there's way too much that you gotta get done to like actually compete. Like just think about it. If you're not doing it, somebody else is. And it's probably not one other person. It's probably like, thousands of other people who are out competing you during that time. So yeah, no, I think it's, and then people say like, you'll perform better if you sleep more. Side note, true. But it's just a question, right? Like if you work, let's say you work 20% more hours than somebody else. And you're sleeping 6 hours a night instead of 8 hours. That math doesn't play out, but let's just assume. What you're probably doing is being 5 to 10% more productive, not 20% more productive, but 5 to 10% kind of wins. So take the win. So yeah.
Dude, this is like the opposite of what you were telling me of like be happy, etc. Because if you're sleeping 6 hours, like it makes you mentally sad. Like it kind of dims your day, no?
So 6 hours, I don't really think so, honestly. I don't know. I'm fine on 6 hours. And again, one thing I said, 15 minutes ago was like, everyone has a different path, right? Like very much people are different.
This is purely for like the people that want to become hyper successful.
Yeah, and can. Like people have physical limitations. Some people just can't. They just won't. Like, there's others who can't. Like, I think Elon probably, I can't even compare myself to him, but like the guy probably can naturally sleep significantly less than me. And he probably does sleep significantly less than me. And like, I can't compete with that. That's just like reality. And I should just like acknowledge it. And I think that people are built differently. So, lots of people just shouldn't do it. But to me, it's all about like, how you think about life. I'm a very much like short-term pain for long-term gain kind of guy. So like, I went through a boatload of pain for 2 years. I've been happy for, chilling I'm working for it, but chilling, relatively speaking, for, let's think this way, chilling mentally. Like I feel very good about things, for years now. And I will for the next 30, 40 years. I don't know how early I'll die because of my sugar consumption, but like, I probably have another 30 years. And like, I'll be chill and happy because of like the 2 years that like I tortured myself on. Like if I could take 2 years of torture for 35 years of happiness, like how easy of a decision is that?
That is what I wanted to hear. Thank you for your time, Marc. It's been a pleasure. Everyone make sure to check the description to check out Marc on LinkedIn and his Twitter or wherever else you can find him. I'll have that in the description. Also Polygon. Make sure to sign up to Polygon or invest in Polygon, like by getting the currency. And it's been a pleasure, Marc. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Take care.